Hey there, I'm here today with my boat, my 1969 Glastron V176 Swinger. I bought this boat last year, almost a year ago now. I did the video series last year, doing some things to fix it up. This video is going to be kind of a commentary track on what I would call more or less the highlight reel of my latest project with this boat, which is replacing the transom. So that's the rear of the boat, basically the back of it where your outboard motor mounts on. The older one, of course, was original in 1969 and was rotted out, which obviously is not great when you've got a few hundred pounds of outboard motor hanging off the back of it. So decided this spring was going to just go ahead and replace it, which basically involves taking the boat apart in two pieces, the top and the bottom. So that's what you're seeing here. First thing you got to do is remove this rubber strip all the way around the boat, so you can split the two pieces of fiberglass apart. There's basically just these two aluminum strips that hold on, kind of wrap all the way around the boat, and they screw into some wood pieces on the other side of the fiberglass. There are a few rivets in the back. Those rivets go directly into the fiberglass, so you have to drill those out and take those chrome pieces off. Few other fasteners that go through both pieces of fiberglass, like this eye hook in the back. As you can see, kind of a preview here of kind of the damage that's been done in that transom. This goes right through the transom in the back. So with all those kind of removed, you can see here, it's basically separated at this point. So we've got some extra help here. It's definitely not a one-person job to lift the top off. So what we're going to do is take a long 2x4, just stick that in there once it's propped up, just to keep those two parts separated. And then with the front separated and the back, there's some glue holding the top and bottom together, so that needs to be cut out. So that's what's going on here. It kind of just goes all along that seam in the back, anywhere where it was riveted together instead of using those screws. And then with that glue broken apart, then lift up the back and slide another piece of wood through the back of it to keep the back parts supported. So at this point, the top and bottom are completely separated, and there you can see that transom, how rotten that is. So it's basically just crumbling apart. It's mush in a lot of spots there. So with the top and bottom separated completely, now we're going to use that 2x4 in front. Have a person on each side, one person in the middle, and just move it forward so we can get access to the transom. And this, of course, is the fun part here, digging all this out. As you can see, once again, how rotten that wood is. It's just basically falling apart at the touch. And that's what was holding on the outboard motor before. So really there was no support left in that wood at all. It was basically all the fiberglass at this point that was supporting that molder. So with the transom cut out, I got the boat back in the garage and ready to start the reconstruction. This is what it looks like all cleaned out. So this transom's going to have to go back in. The new one will in multiple pieces. First of all, it's going to be 2 layers back to front to get the right thickness, and then it's because the boat goes from wider to narrower as it goes up. We're going to have to do the back layer in 2 pieces, and then we're going to have to do the front layer in 3 pieces. So we got a cardboard template here to kind of map out how we're actually going to do that. Kind of get the right angles and such, and then we cut the first layer and dry fit that. And then I got some Total Boat epoxy on Amazon. That's going to be what we're going to use for most of this project. It's a 5-to-1 mixture, so you just mix it up. With the pumps there, they're calibrated. You just mix it up for a couple minutes here, whatever amount you need. I didn't get too much video of this just because it took a lot of hands to actually be doing the epoxy, and I also didn't want to get it all over my camera. But as you can see, we put it on there, and then we've got it clamped down. So this is the very first layer. We kind of got it shimmed just to make sure it's tight against the fiberglass and held in place. And I also decided to add a piece of stainless steel on the back here. So this angle iron, the bolts are going to go right through that for the motor mounts. And then we got some additional bolts on the side just to hold on the piece of stainless steel angle iron. So that's just kind of for some extra strength and support. I don't think we'll even need that with the brand new transom, but it's definitely not going to hurt to have that extra support in there. And then after waiting a day, we glued in the second layer of transom pieces. Just shimmying it up here one more time, just again to make sure it's tight. It's also epoxied on the back, and then we're going to put some screws through to hold everything together, hold those 2 layers together. As you can see, we got the screws already in there. And then after that's dried, we went and we took some fiberglass cloth and just kind of laid that over the new transom, and then took our epoxy, our Total Boat epoxy, and just did another layer over that just for again, reinforced strength. And then finally, with that last layer dry, we're going to drill through our holes to hold on that angle iron I talked about, and then the holes for the motor mounts for the outboard motor. And then we'll drill our big holes for our drain plugs. This is a little bit of a detour from the transom project, but while I had the top off, I also wanted to replace some rotting floor up in the bow section of the boat. So I got that cut out, and there was flotation foam blocks in there, which I wanted to just replace with this pour foam, which that's what I'm mixing up here in the bucket. So I went, just mix that up basically in the bucket, and then you pour it in and it just expands and kind of fills every crevice. As you can see, it actually hardens up really fast. It's actually hardening up in the bucket itself. and then it just expands, and then you cut off what you don't need. So back to the transom. So with that kind of all dried and everything in place, I'm just going to give this a final coat of paint here. You really won't see it once the top's back on, but I just figured, well, I had some extra paint, I'd make it kind of uniform throughout, and the paint I had matched pretty well with the original colors, so. We're going to take some special marine adhesive here, and we're going to use that to seal up the holes around the drain plugs. So those new drain plugs, obviously we're using new ones, so they come, one end's flared, one end's not. So once we push it through here, we've got it all sealed, we're going to use a flaring tool. Just put a wrench on both ends, it's a bolt that goes through, and it just flares that unflared ends just by putting pressure on both sides. And that was really the last step before we could put the boat back together. So just the opposite of before here. Just lifting it back into place after having it slid forward. It was just slid forward just about a foot or so the whole time I was working on the transom. So just kind of took some maneuvering and lifting in different spots to actually get this in place. Set back on the top. So with the back of the boat back together, we're going to take more of that glue that we used before for the drain holes, and we're going to just glue it back together like it was before, just to create a nice seal and a nice bond between the two pieces of fiberglass in the back. And then of course we'll rivet over those with the chrome pieces. And then with that back, kind of the glue in place, we pull out the front 2x4 and set this back down in the front. There was quite a bit of kind of prying and wedging to get the top back onto the bottom, but it eventually did go. And then we just need to put back on our aluminum strips and screw everything together. And then finally, putting back on this rubber strip, which I thought would kind of be the hard part because it's so rigid, but we just left it out in the sun for a while and it got nice and heated up, and we were able to get it back in there really easily. So after about a month and a half of work, on and off, finally got the boat back at the launch and back in the water with a nice solid transom and without any worry of it ripping off and sinking, which is nice.